Hello, how are you? Let's start with the news about what's happening in the world. And well, here it is. The moment when this group of soldiers entered, invaded the ship, took it over, obviously, it caught attention. A ship, by the way, an oil tanker of Iranian origin. Let's discuss the details of this United States move. They call it interception, they call it confiscation, well, call it whatever you want. The point is that the United States would have taken oil that, according to Donald Trump, they're going to keep the whole ship and the oil itself. Let's go to the details of what Donald Trump himself was saying at that moment.
Which oil is it? As you probably know, we've just shut down an oil field on the side of Venezuela, a big oil field, very big. The biggest one that was ever actually shut down. And other things are happening, so you'll see that later and talk about it later with some other people. As you probably know, we've just shut down.
Basically, what Donald Trump is saying is that, well, he would have taken one of these ships. Pretty big, as always. It's not always. It's always giant. It's giant. It's the biggest thing that has ever existed in the world. The thing is, well, the soldiers, carry out a military operation that they claim could be the first phase of a movement against Maduro's regime. We just seized, says a tanker off the coast of Venezuela. It's a big tanker, very big in fact, the biggest ever seized, says Donald Trump. Statement, this is part of the communication sent to the White House, where, it was expected that today Karina would go to receive an award, the Nobel Prize, to leave and get to Oslo through Curacao, a beach, a Dutch island. I think it's Curacao.
Yes, I think so.
I think it's from Holland. Well, from the Netherlands. It's also like the Netherlands.
The Netherlands.
Now they call it that.
But
they call him that as a nickname. But the thing is, a ship, it's huge. Let's say it's not enormous and immense. In this surprising military operation, they would have seized that. Now, the ship is identified as the Skype, but it doesn't
identify as the Skype. And, it was detained, it was confiscated. It was a joint operation. We have the Coast Guard, the FBI, Homeland Security Investigations, and also the Department of Defense. This was stated by the Attorney General Panbondi, and she posted this on her X account, and the seizure has really attracted a lot of attention. It was transporting sanctioned oil from Venezuela to Iran.
Now you can really see an operation, because before everything was just about small boats. It's the first time you actually see a significant move, one that really costs, and that directly affects Maduro's government. Imagine if it suddenly starts. And obviously a lot of comments have already come out because it was logical that this would happen too. The 20 has already come out. There's the United States' interest in oil. Well, yes, it's there, indeed, obviously. The thing is,
you have to be naive.
It's not a surprise, but there are people who are surprised. What draws attention is the coordination between many agencies where they are going to take this ship and what Iran's reaction will be. Supposedly, Maduro is super angry and I don't know what else they're saying. Basically, they want to steal our oil. What do you know? What has been the reaction from Venezuela on this issue?
But anyway, Maduro really did get angry today. He has asked the entire population of Venezuela, farmers, fishermen, and everyone else, to knock the teeth out of the United States. Is this his comment in response to this attack? This attack, because they see it as an attack, and yes, it is an attack, it's not a seizure. And it really bothered him because in the end, he was a bit careful with his words when it came to the United States. He rarely criticizes Trump, aside from calling him Pelucon, and mainly targets Marco Rubio instead.
He had tried not to comment, not to offend him too much, right? The last conversation was cordial, he said. Wasn't it more cordial? Where are they saying you should leave? How cordial can a call like that really be? But anyway, now this movement is happening that they're even calling international piracy.
There in the video of the moment, because it was an event, obviously. The fact is that two things happened today. First, not seeing Maria Corina in Oslo, and second, this seizure. I think it wasn't a good day for Maduro. He was obviously very upset by what he saw.
Not exactly. By the way, there's the image of Maria Corina in Oslo, and she's leaving the hotel to greet people. Let's listen. Well, there it is. We'll talk about all this in a little while. But it was very interesting, obviously, the reaction from the world in all of this, in this whole matter. But it's striking, well, that Maduro's reaction is even talking about taking, well, basically invading Colombia and creating Gran Colombia, as well as Venezuela, Colombia, and Ecuador together, it seems to me. In fact, here's the report on how. How does he show the map in that sense? That's how he sees the world in this area, Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, and Ecuador, as one single country. This is where, well, Maduro says the following. He says, I tell the people of Colombia, sooner rather than later we must recreate the country of Gran Colombia. Gran Colombia existed from 1819 to 1831 and included present-day Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Panama, plus parts of Peru and northeastern Brazil. I mean, it's basically a banana republic version of Vladimir Putin that Maduro is trying to show today, maybe because this issue bothered him or because of Maria Corina or whatever it is. But the point is that now he's aiming to, well, set up a sort of giant Colombia.
Exactly. Well, actually, today this also came out, the one where Rodriguez and the Vice President Colonel of Venezuela will to ask that Brazil, Colombia, and Mexico unite against the United States, right? That's not going to happen. Dear from the movies. Minister.
In these times, it must be different. But we always have to be like warriors, with one eye open, and the other one too. Working, producing, building, everything always running. And prepared to smash the teeth of the North American Empire if necessary, from the homeland of Bolivar.
Well, part of the message that this Maduro gives, right? Today, well, obviously a reaction like that was expected.
Of course.
Well, that's the situation, right? Trump on one hand reacting in that way. Be careful, the Einstein case is advancing today. We're going to talk about that in a moment because the internal problems haven't ended for the United States, especially for Donald Trump. But anyway, anything else about this topic?
No, not this topic, but they're saying Trump just talks about the Venezuela issue. And actually, on social media, there were a lot of comments saying that, well, he's taking the liberty of saying those words because he hasn't seen any direct action against the regime. Outside of that, seizures and attacks on boats, which honestly, he doesn't really care about.
Exactly. Maduro is you, right?
Yes, Maduro, yes.
No, he doesn't care. This issue could become a real problem for him, especially if more seizures occur. With oil, you point out that it's the only source of income. By the way, the Washington Post said that as of today, the United States is still buying oil from Venezuela. I mean, this is reported today by the Washington Post saying, hey, look.
Well, a lot, but they're still buying from them.
That oil that comes out of there goes to Cuba, goes to the United States, and goes to China. I mean, there are three areas that Venezuela is selling to right now at this moment. So Venezuela sells to Cuba, which, well, who knows if they actually sell it or just give it away, sells it to China, and sells it to the United States. And obviously that's pretty incredible too, right? Because, well, it's like they always say, right? The narrative and business are separate. Business takes a different path. Let's address other important matters. Well, the big question that everyone has been asking is whether he's going to come. We've already seen a very anti-NATO narrative from the United States lately, especially from Donald Trump and maybe from Pete Hegseth. But can the question now be asked more seriously? Why? Thomas Macy, a Republican legislator, has already officially introduced a bill for the United States to leave NATO, calling it a relic of the Cold War. But basically, he's just saying we need to get out, he says. He argues that the alliance today is to protect socialist countries, said the congressman, and that it represents an unnecessary expense for United States taxpayers. The proposal states that NATO's eastward expansion has caused direct tensions with Russia, highlighting the war in Ukraine as an example of a geopolitical impact. Well, Macy says that the Constitution does not allow for permanent military involvement abroad, and that Europe already has enough capacity for its own defense.
And well, this initiative comes at a time when there is a lot of polarization in the United States about its global role. There are people who believe that the United States should not be participating in foreign conflicts, and there are others who think otherwise. This gives them, and it truly does give them, global power. The United States' involvement in many wars also gives it certain power. Also regarding the elections, which are already taking place today, Trump said they've already lost the midterm elections, which is surprising because he never admits defeat, let alone a future defeat. But anyway, he himself has also said that the idea of separating from global issues is almost impossible for the United States because it's too much in its DNA. Basically,
exactly, and what this congressman proposes is completely unrealistic. But let's say these are small signs of a certain coldness in relations with NATO. Is he going to separate from NATO? No, obviously that's not going to happen. The United States is NATO. I mean, it would be like shooting yourself in the foot. I mean, they are the ones who make up most of NATO in terms of the number of soldiers, in terms of the number of weapons. Come on, there's no way around it. Besides, leaving NATO would cost them all their influence over Europe. The United States influences Europe commercially and in other ways because of NATO. Without NATO, how would they have influence? No, thanks. I'll just partner with China, Russia, or whoever I want. Since you stopped investing in my security, I'm protecting myself. In the end, everyone looks out for themselves. Obviously, what this Mr. Macy is saying shows he doesn't understand a thing, not even a bit, about what NATO is about, clearly. But maybe he just saw some numbers? Maybe there was some kind of arrangement over there in the Kremlin or something? Frankly, it's surprising that Republicans, let alone Democrats, don't even listen to these people. But this noise is starting to happen. And I also think they're, let's say, like experiments, so to speak, by some people.
to test the waters.
That's exactly what they say. Let's see, you're going to say this. Are you going to put forward this initiative? If they see it works, spreads, and generates results, maybe yes, but honestly, I don't see it happening. Let's see what happens. In the meantime, NATO is going to remain in the United States, I think, for a long time. Whether you call it a relic or whatever you want to call it, that's not what it is. What else is out there? Anything else about NATO or this?
About the NATO issue? Actually, today's survey was about the United States House of Representatives, not NATO. Today, they already granted a fixed budget that, in theory, cannot be changed anymore by law for defense for Ukraine. More or less 400 million in annual defense aid until 2027. But well, even though the number sounds very big, 400 million for us mortals, in terms of the United States government numbers, it's not.
It doesn't sound big.
For us mortals, Pepe no?
But it's nothing.
Yes, that's why I say that for the numbers they're dealing with, it's nothing.
Nothing? It's nothing? Not even for regular people.
I was planning to keep the $400 million check I was giving you.
Yes, no, it's not. I mean, what I'm telling you, to put this in context, is what the United States invests or spends annually in Ukraine. It's $30-something billion.
34 billion?
Yes, he has $4,030-something billion. 33 billion. I mean, the amount is impressive. 400 million.
Million. Yes, it doesn't even come close to me.
It's nothing. About 4 or so, what's it called? Missiles? maybe something like that. But well, I think what Congress wanted to do here was to show their intention. I mean, the intention that they do want to keep helping. And even though it's a small amount of money compared to what's needed for a country defending itself against a country like Russia, obviously these are signals that were necessary. You can see it because lately almost all of Trump's narrative has been very separated from Ukraine. Basically, it's like a kind of Cold War, so to speak, with Europe, and Ukraine is getting caught in the middle of all that. Why? Well, because of multiple interests right now to put pressure on the United States and Europe, whether it's about money, tariffs, or whatever you want. But we're living in a kind of semi-Cold War, so to speak, exactly.
This legislation also, aside from the money, prohibits the Pentagon, this is very important, from withdrawing troops stationed or deployed in Europe below 76,000 for more than 45 days. That can't be changed right now. The Department of Defense also has to notify Congress within 48 hours if it decides to restrict intelligence or intelligence sharing. Ukraine, which, well, as soon as the decision is made and they remove it, supposedly at that moment it was made, and even Trump didn't find out. Well, okay, also, the project was a bipartisan project with Republicans and Democrats, and it passed with 312 in favor and 112 against. There it is.
Hey, the way out it has right now, well, all this mess that Europe is in, it's either going to be making up with the United States or starting to look elsewhere to other blocs. Because even they themselves talk about it. Or if there's a lot of effort to try to trust again in the strength that Europeans have, what strength do they really have? After so many years depending on and letting the United States lead however it wants. Well, there really isn't a change in that sense. So be careful with that issue, really. Thanks to everyone joining the live stream. Let's continue with other important information. Let me just stop showing you this image, okay? This was an image that also catches your attention. From that one, what's it called? From Oslo, which shows not only Maria Corina, but also, well, the committee. Yes. At that moment, they announced that Machado was arriving in Oslo, and well, obviously he arrived late. He didn't make it in time to receive the award directly. But well, when it was cancelled, everything got delayed because of bad weather. So basically no, because they planned to leave by sea, they had to wait for the large waves to calm before setting off. So everything got delayed.
So the whole story about the plane, which she mentioned, was just a deception.
Exactly. Well, that Diosdado himself brought it up and, you know, people were talking about it, but really the way out was somewhere else.
It was somewhere else and it took longer.
And of course, it makes more sense because leaving on a plane seemed like, well, they could easily catch her. I don't know, but by sea, it's much more complicated. The coastline is really long. Even so, they went through several military zones and he doesn't know how, but they managed to get her through so she could get out.
Are they investigating the planes? Yes.
Obviously, yes. Let's move on to another topic, but first of all, I want to thank Roblox for those 20 memberships. Thank you so much, Roblox, for that support, and to the whole community that's receiving the membership thanks to Roblox. Congratulations, Roblox just gifted them. I really appreciate it, and thank you on behalf of the community. I appreciate that support to the whole community by gifting memberships. Hey, let's move on to other matters, other very important topics as well. There are cycles that sometimes can repeat themselves on the planet, and this, added to what is already happening with the melting of the ice, is starting to worry scientists. This time, there is a particular cycle that happened about 9,000 years ago, more or less, yes, but this cycle could repeat itself according to what they are observing. Antarctica went through a melting event 9,000 years ago that collapsed and obviously caused problems all over the planet. And now, the scientific alarm from a study conducted by the National Institute of Polar Research of Japan, published in the journal Nature Geoscience, states or warns that East Antarctica collapsed 9,000 years ago, as I was saying, due to an intrusion of warm, deep waters. Warm water started to enter through some areas and began to cause this melting. They say this process is happening again. Researchers are analyzing marine sediments in Lutzo Hall Bay and discovered that ocean warming weakened the floating ice shelves. This is causing the flow of warm ice into this area to increase. In other words, it's no longer blocked, it's already moving forward. And glaciers like Pine Island, glaciers like T. White's, or others that are in West Antarctica are showing similar patterns of melting due to deep waters, which, well, raises an alert for the scientific community. The phenomenon could accelerate, for example, among other things, accelerate the rise of sea levels, which is already concerning in itself, right? Another possible effect is that some parts of the world could experience more significant weather events, like what we've seen in the past 3 or 4 weeks in Malaysia. They were saying these are the heaviest rains in the last 3 centuries, right? Changes in ocean currents. So it's a series of phenomena that can cause this situation. Well, this is now going to be reviewed by other institutions as well to try to understand what its effects might be. But it's a very interesting discovery because aside from this year, by the way, 2025, and we'll talk about what's happening. This 2025, do they expect it to be over already, right? The year. The statistics are starting to come out, right? And they're estimating that 2025 will be the second warmest year in modern history. So it's a particularly warm year. And this, especially in the oceans. So, adding to little details like what's happening with these cyclical phenomena, I also think there are a lot of things to reflect on here right from the start. What's going to happen to these little countries? Little countries literally because they are little countries. These are countries with 100, 200, 300 people, maybe 1,000 people living there, right? Almost all of them have already evacuated. Because luckily, for now, these countries are being given the option to get citizenship from some other countries like Australia and like that.
Yes. They've been given the chance to go to that country, right?
But these are countries that are disappearing. Basically, that's what some countries that are big, let's say, in terms of land, are doing. Give them a space and try to learn a little from those cultures. To have a memory of those cultures that are practically ceasing to exist. But there are also some who don't want to leave us, who say, I'm not going to move from here and I don't know what.
They're going to leave with everything.
With all the water.
With all their guts, because yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. And well, since we're at it, let's just do it, right? Should we talk about how 2025 is shaping up to become the second hottest year? The experts from the Copernicus Climate Change Service. They have the satellite data, so they have measurements from, tons of years, right? So they say that since the pre-industrial era, since we have information about temperatures, how have global temperatures changed? From 1850 to now, this will be the second warmest year in history. Just to give us a better idea of this situation. Experts say that the average temperature for the first 11 months of the year was about 0.60, or 1 degree Fahrenheit higher than the average for the period from 1991 to 2020, and higher than the pre-industrial average of 1850, 1.4 degrees more or 2.6 degrees Fahrenheit more than the pre-industrial era, which is 1850. So both the closest one, which is basically from the 90s until now, or the one from 1850, we have a much higher temperature compared to that same average. The team believes that it's practically certain this year will be the second warmest on record, tying with the year 2023. It could end up in third place. It's not over yet, so it's still almost tied with 2023. It could finish slightly lower in third or rise to second place. So, well, we'll see how it ends. Seeing this on a graph, I think it gives us a better idea of how things are. I mean, because here it goes. This goes from 1975 to 2025. These are the average temperatures for each year. And well, that's where we can see if there is or isn't a planet that's warming up. So there it is.
It's not like we're heading straight to hell. Like, seriously, it's super hot.
Well, it's increasing tremendously. And obviously, well, that can be measured. Not only is it measured day by day, it's measured in the ocean, it's measured all over the world, and then the average is calculated. That's why it may seem to you that this year was calmer than others. Of course, since some areas haven't changed much, but it's a global average. Let's move on to other important matters as well. Hey, since we're discussing topics, let's touch on the climate issue. It's just that this phenomenon happened, and I have to mention it because it's really cool, strange, and super interesting. I mean, it's not like... What's the name of that Netflix series? The one that's set in an underground world? It feels like something from Stranger Things, really strange. And I had never seen such a strange funnel before. You know how a funnel forms when it's nice? Yeah, really nice when the tornado is about to form, but aesthetically, you're right, it's nice. This time, a funnel appears straight out of the creepiest horror movie you can imagine. And this weird thing comes out, right? Which, well, obviously caught everyone's attention. I mean, what the heck is going on in that funnel? What is that funnel thinking to come out looking so ugly like this? Well, this cloud, this funnel, surprised people in the city of Cordoba. Right in the mountains of Cordoba. According to reports, the phenomenon was visible for only a few minutes, and it happened this past Saturday at noon. According to specialists, it was a weak funnel cloud, a fleeting cloud formation that doesn't touch the ground or pose any danger. But obviously, he says, it's similar to the ones that form tornadoes, but it's weak, right? I mean, it doesn't reach the ground, but it's really curious. At least, I mean, it's kind of strange, let's say, but it's interesting. In Cordoba, as they've been reporting, some tourists in the area supposedly photographed it. As they're saying now, it's not that common, they say, but it's not something that extraordinary either. Since the phenomenon is brief, we might not notice it. The funnel image was circulating on social networks along with several new videos. And, well, that's how things are, right? This happens, by the way, at quite a high altitude, doesn't it? I mean, it's not like it's going to cause any problems for those who are down there. And nothing, no hail falling or anything like that, right? Because that's what sometimes happens when people see this thing and think, that's it, we're done for. There's going to be a tournament. Well, not necessarily. That's not another topic. Also quickly before, but it's something else that's already, well, it's official. For us in Mexico, it's important because they assure us Timex will continue. And this, well, was clearly visible since tariffs were approved for all countries. But everyone knows that the tariffs are aimed at China. I mean, the tariffs were made specifically for China. But it was said, well, all the countries with which we don't have a free trade agreement, tariffs, and here are the tariffs, right? But this was seen as a sign that there's some kind of agreement with the United States, like, well, just put tariffs. Something to increase business between us, making things from there pricier so we can do more business. No, obviously, this is good. According to reports, at least from now until 2026, the Timex, the famous treaty between Mexico, Canada, and the United States, it's going to continue according to what is known. And that's because it's, well, that engine, well, for these three countries, it's an important engine when it comes to the economy, obviously, and necessary. The Mexican Association of the Automotive Industry says the treaty will continue and is the only way Mexico, the United States, and Canada can compete with Europe and Asia. It's not the only way, but by forming a bloc together, because otherwise...
How is it complicated?
Yes, exactly. How do you get along with China, especially China, and with Europe and SOTE, since they're forming blocs? That's why Trump's sudden insistence on getting involved doesn't make sense. But Well, it works for him because he sells it to his followers and many of them applaud him for it. Isn't that what it's all about?
But at the same time, we see that he sides with China, which we've seen lately. So whatever China wants is fine.
Yeah, well, yes, because he wants to do business with them, but he has his limits. Also, a third judge, not anymore. Now there are 3 judges who have authorized the declassification of the case files. I mean, I think it's clear that they have to be. It's just that Congress already said it. But first, let's see if the judges say whether they can authorize it or not. Well, this is the third order from a judge lifting the gag order on the documents and files of the financier. And well, the monster, which is Jeffrey Epstein after all. Well, now what is being revealed, or what is known, is that the documents will have to be handed over. Careful, the documents of Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein's partner or ex-partner, could also be revealed. A federal judge in Manhattan ordered the release of the confidential files in this case as part of an investigation presented to a grand jury. It's the 3rd court decision in just 1 week that lifts the secrecy on the documents, following the almost unanimous ban by Congress of the so-called Epstein Law. Judge Richard Bernal, who had previously denied the release, this time argued that the new law signed by Trump takes precedence over the usual confidentiality of a grand jury, so it has to be released.
Despite warnings to stop, there were rumors he already ordered the release of 70 protected pages compromising the identities of victims and witnesses, some of whom were recently exposed. And were there witnesses who got very upset because their names were revealed? I mean, the people who are victims and those who are witnesses do need to be protected, not the ones who did those things, right? And well, the case, which involves figures like Grizzly Maxwell and possibly connections to high-ranking officials from all over the world, as well as celebrities, that's the least important part, right? The important thing is all the people from the government who were involved there. It includes more than 100,000 pages that the FBI has collected since 2008.
Just imagine that. I mean, well, those documents are going to provide a lot for many topics, not just many, but to see how things were inside this whole situation. By the way, there's going to be a special we're preparing about this man, Robert Maxwell, who is Jeffrey Epstein's father-in-law. And how does this person have such a strange life that many believe he influenced Jeffrey Epstein in many of the things he did, many of the shady deals he made, and many of the connections he had. Jeffrey Epstein may have gotten them through his father-in-law, who has his own story. If Jeffrey Epstein's story is strange, Robert Maxwell's is much stranger. Well, here we are, as I mentioned to you today, but I might mention it to you from time to time. There's a project we're starting called Pepe Files, which is basically where Pepe Clips used to be. That's where we'll be uploading files. No, basically, they're just videos of past cases. That's basically it that we're going to share. Well, data and important information about interesting cases, strange cases, cases that simply influence the news that people usually talk about, that we usually comment on, things, situations that are connected to the news. But, well, if you want, you can go ahead. If you're subscribed to Pepe Clips, that's where you'll find them. I'll be waiting for you there. I don't know, well, I go in and maybe tomorrow the video will show up and we'll be commenting on it anyway once it's ready. And then, well, there will be other files that we want to upload later on, right? Thank you to everyone who supports us here. Now let's move on to other important matters. Well, they're warning that tourists now will have to be careful not to reveal things or post strange things on their social media history. Tourists or anyone with a United States visa may have their social media checked. This topic was discussed before, but it seems to be returning.
Yes, what happens is that they hadn't said 5 years before. That's the thing. Like, why would you have to give them the privilege of giving them 5 years? About your comments? Well, everyone has the right to have their own comments. Media is their media, sometimes questionable media, right?
What about freedom of speech? Where does it stand?
Right, yes, that's why, there's no freedom of speech at all. Is this going to be monitored? Now tourists have the time to check 5 years of every social network that a person has. I can't even go back 2 more months. I get lost there. So, well, this new condition will affect people from countries that use the electronic system for travel authorization, which is called Electronic System for Travel Authorization, and which allows you to visit the United States for up to 90 days. For example, some are people living in Chile or Spain. If you want to go to the United States, you now know you need to clear your record. If you made fun of someone or were about to accept that they're supposedly going to be checking everything on your social media.
Tourism to the United States has already dropped a lot. And with things like that, tourists say, well, this year I'm not going. Maybe I'll see if they change it later because I'm not interested in being checked or anything like that. And so people are deciding to go to other countries for vacation or whatever.
Yes, well, in fact, tourism worldwide actually grew. It was just the United States that went down. And now with the World Cup, right? A lot of people will probably decide to go to Canada or come to Mexico or not go to the World Cup. Honestly, those who have the privilege to go, because, well, it's almost a privilege to get a ticket, so they'll be able to go.
Or if I say yes, well, the people who live there, right? Who will be able to go perfectly fine without any problems?
If you get tickets?
No, unless you don't have any issues with the AIS, that you don't have any problems there, because they also said that the AIS people will be checking the stadiums, basically, or the areas around the stadiums. One thing that has also bothered Federación Internacional de Fútbol Association, or because it doesn't take away the chances for many Latinos who are big soccer fans to go.
Yes, among the countries that will be checked are Chile, Spain, the United Kingdom, Ireland, France, Australia, and Japan. And those are some of the countries that will be checked. Now, the 5 years of social media. And besides, these are countries that are economically stable, right? You can go there comfortably. The United States isn't like Somalia, because lately Trump has been targeting Somalia. That catches my attention, right? It's Australia, it's Japan, Japan. If someone is traveling from Japan to the United States, I think they must have quite a bit of money.
But anyway, that's how things are. And by the way, going back to the topic of Venezuela that we were talking about a little while ago, Petro made a statement criticizing Maduro, and he tells him to, well, respond. In other words, not to respond with more repression or military isolation against his people. He urges the United States to support a democratic revolution in Venezuela. The president of Colombia made a very interesting statement today, saying that Venezuela needs a democratic revolution and not more repression or an exclusively military approach to face external pressures. Petro's words come after the passport of Cardinal Baltasar Porras was held at the Maiquetía airport, which is a very curious incident. I don't know if it is.
Yes, no, he can't leave. This is a cardinal. Cardinal Baltasar Porras can't leave Venezuela. And it draws attention. Do you remember what
How? I don't know. I just know he did. But why? You don't know why?
Or is there a threat in this one? What you know is that Nicolas Maduro threatened to detain this cardinal, okay, and prevented him from leaving Venezuela. We see this in Nicaragua, where priests who served as pastors have been detained. And he also canceled his passport at the Maiquetía International Airport, when he was going to travel to Colombia, then to Spain to fulfill certain commitments. The church did not. And the measure was confirmed to IFE by sources close to the prelate and by the general coordination of the non-governmental organization Provea. Oscar Mourinho, who indicates that the clergyman had to return to his residence in Caracas. In other words, he is basically detained within the country. He cannot leave the country. Yes!
Exactly. Come on. This situation is really tough.
And Petro, the way he responds also stands out to me. Because today, Trump, in this press conference where he announced the seizure of the oil tanker, the biggest, the largest in the world, he also said he was targeting Petro. Well, there it is in the short. It's already dubbed. Where it says the next one is the reason. Well, it seems like Petro said, "Oh wow, let me leave the wires there for Nicolas, little Nicolas, because it's coming inside me too." Did it actually catch Catron Mamenas' attention?
Yes, let's watch this. Let's watch it in my Spanish. Let's watch it dubbed in Spanish. Let's see. You can't really see it. There it is. Let's listen to it.
Colombia has a lot of drugs. Many have cocaine factories that produce cocaine, as you know, and they sell it directly to the United States. He'd better get his act together. Or will he be next? He'll be next too, and I hope he'll be next, yes.
Me, it seems, just in case this wasn't clear, I hope he's listening, he'll be next. Well, if they don't get their act together, that's basically not the idea. No, well, yes, that's how things are. There's no, let's move on to other topics. Let's move on to other important matters as well. There's something pretty strange, right? In a black hole in the New General Catalog galaxy. 30 and 183, very well known.
Of course.
Very famous. Well, yes, are you going on vacation there? Well, in this galaxy, there's a black hole and there's a blue one, a real one. There's no black hole. And then from there, suddenly nothing is supposed to come out. If it's supposed to be that not even light can escape, and yet something comes out of there. Apparently an object, right? In fact, many already claim that this would be some kind of unidentified flying object. The strangest thing about all this is that it doesn't just come out of the black hole, but it also moves at an amazing speed. It's about a fifth of the speed of light. So right around here,
A fifth.
That's 60,000 kilometers per second, which would be equivalent to a fifth of the speed of light. After an X-ray explosion that was detected by space telescopes. The phenomenon was detected by the S and recorded by the XM Newton and X-ray telescopes, and SM, marking the first time such a fast injection has been observed from an active galactic nucleus. Or have there already been outflows? Have outflows of material or something been seen in some of these black objects? But this time what stands out is that it comes out at a truly surprising speed.
Not exactly. Well, the ultra-fast winds had been generated by an untangling, so to speak, of the magnetic fields in the accretion disk, similar to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. In other words, solar storms, but with a power 10 billion times greater. I mean, it's impressive. And the event is considered key to studying what are called ultra-fast outflows, or UFOs for short. We're talking about UFOs, which has led to the curious reference to flying saucers. Not because of the initials?
Exactly. I mean, well, what they do say is that these kinds of things are extremely difficult to study and understand, at least for now. But above all, because of the speed. I mean, you ask yourself, what has the power to get out, right? This one, what kind of energy, let's say, does it have? Does it have to be able to come out of these kinds of objects, right? At the end of the day, well, it really is very surprising, you say. A unique chance to study how these ultra-fast flows form, according to researcher Liggy. Well, it's surprising, let's say, this strange astronomical event isn't within the context of a black hole, an X-ray explosion, and, well, a material outflow of this energy. Obviously surprising. Well, what's also surprising, right, and to go on with this, but it's just so interesting, check it out. The video we made about the third one from the back today is really interesting. Alright, they're ready. No, I'm not saying anything, I just want to welcome you and have you arrive here. There are 9 days left to be able to see this phenomenon up close, and on the 19th from then on, well, all that topic should explode with information and be able to. The most interesting thing is that it was expected that after the perihelion, the activity would start to decrease in every way. Well, there was going to be less activity, and at most, the little comet was just going to come out on its own, right? But it's been the opposite. Since the perihelion, there's only been more and more activity. You might ask if it's already moving away from the sun.
Why? Why does the activity increase?
Increasing the activity, but well, it's a topic that's contradictory. It's contradictory. Well, that's how it turned out. Does it seem like you beat me to it? I was going to tell you, but oh well.
I combined it.
Let's move on to other matters. How are you? Alex is an architect. He's an architect. Yes, that's right. It's Francisco. Well, the day goes by. He says he's an architect. No, I don't know. Not this one. Yes, I guess so, says Pepe. I didn't understand well. You didn't understand well. Wait for me. What does it say? Oh man, I lost it. It says I didn't understand well what you're saying, that it came out. Was it something that was on the aggression disk or inside the event horizon? They say literally from inside the black hole?
Yes, we've discussed this before, but the explanation is only available now. But a few months ago, I remember we mentioned that they had seen a ray. So to speak, it was coming out of the black hole, which they couldn't explain since black holes are supposed to absorb everything. How is it possible that something actually comes out?
Well, we'll always have to ask the rays, right? Because they came out so fast. Yeah, honestly, it's a really strange topic, isn't it? Let's see, what other information?
If you send Trump, they'll return him.
What hypotheses come up there? Some say it was Goku, just think about it.
That would be great.
Now let's discuss important but boring topics. Let's see, the Federal Reserve of the United States, Bajo. And is this the third time, or how many times has it gone down?
Is it the second time? No?
Let's see, 3, 5, third time.
The third, yes, third time in a row.
The third straight interest rate cut. Yes.
But yes, that's what Jerome Powell said during his, how do you call it? When he comes out. Not when it's the Federal Reserve presentation that he said that inflation was going up because of the tariffs. Specifically that there were bad numbers regarding jobs, meaning yes, the situation wasn't right to do this, but they were doing it and they are still doing it because of Trump's constant pressure.
Exactly.
Who likely wanted more coverage?
Yes, of course. But anyway, what does lowering the interest rate mean? Well, it means that the money you have saved generates less for you.
Less interest.
It generates less interest for you. Why can this be positive or negative? Well, it's positive for those who have a lot of money saved, but it's generating them interest, just not a big interest. But when they lower it, you say, shoot, it's no longer worth it to keep my money saved because I'm losing out. Inflation, right? There's inflation, but I'm not earning any interest. You need to move the money, so how do you do it? By putting it into the economy through business. Buying, investing in the country, it starts to move. So that's why Trump pushed to lower interest rates. He wants the money to move now.
It was lowered by 25 points, but Trump wanted a 50-point reduction instead.
But the autonomy of the Fed is extremely important, yes, because they want to make changes in the Fed. If that autonomy is lost, confidence in the United States will fall. And that's the issue, because you say, well, then no one is going to balance Trump's decisions, right? So, well, that's a lot of risk for businesses, and that's why investments might leave. Investments could go elsewhere. Well, that's how things are right now. Let's move on to other important topics.
But now I've gotten scared. Well, there's a record flood in Washington, which is causing evacuations and a maximum alert in some communities. Pepe was mentioning it, that there was going to be water, and in some regions there was going to be snow. But this time in the state of Washington, which is on the Pacific side, not to be confused with Washington District of Columbia, there are entire areas that have been evacuated and alerts are in place. Meanwhile, the authorities are warning that river levels could rise over the next few days. This is the, what do they call it, atmospheric river that's causing this. And well, according to statements from Ed Clark, who is the director of the National Water Center, this episode of flooding constitutes a major event with an impact that is expected to be prolonged and that has prompted these evacuations and the relocation of entire populations to other areas. This afternoon, the National Water Forecast Service reported 18 river points in Washington that are currently at or are expected to reach severe flood levels, and this number could increase to 14. That means there will be 14 more points tomorrow, that is on Thursday.
We're essentially seeing everything Astrid described, but in pictures. So we're seeing how it moved over the last 24 hours. Clouds with large amounts of water over the state of Washington, and obviously, what does this mean? Well, potentially large amounts of rain. This has already happened. We're just seeing the past 24 hours, but if we zoom out, it's clearer. So, what you're talking about? This atmospheric river? What is all this? And so it's not just Washington, but it actually covers several states in the north and the central part of the United States. Look at the amount of water that's moving, and add to that the cold that's happening in some regions up north. Obviously, well, that's it. That's an important part of what's happening with the weather. Although we already did today's forecast, well, this was an update we had to mention because of its importance. Obviously, we already did the update today. Remember that we have a playlist with all the weather updates and the daily forecast. So if you want to check it out, we have the playlist there. But anyway, that's how things are. Let's move on to other important topics. There's an outbreak of avian flu, but now in the Netherlands. The other day we were talking about other outbreaks like the one in Spain.
But the flu?
A flu, not avian flu. I don't mean that one.
The storks?
Do you remember? In Storks? I think it was in Madrid, but anyway, we've talked about sacrifice in different places. Well, one, in the case of what happened in Spain, well, they were wild birds. And in the case of what happens in the Netherlands, they've had to cull 80,000 birds because of that outbreak that has been going on. And, well then, the Dutch authorities have confirmed today a new outbreak of flu, which, especially in the southern part, forced the culling of these, well, 80,000 birds, not a chicken farm, while a chicken farm was operating. Yes, it's very big there, but at the same time, if a group gets sick, a lot of them get sick, or you have to, not that they all get sick, obviously, but you have to call them. The whole area where you found that little group of sick birds. The last outbreak had been detected in the south of the country, in an area with a high density of birds. Since there are 4 farms operating within the 3-kilometer perimeter in that area, all the farms are obviously affected, and other farms that are a little farther away will also be inspected. Because, well, they don't want the avian flu outbreak to spread to other places, right? Alright, what else?
This outbreak also triggers a total ban on the transportation of birds' eggs for incubation and eggs for consumption. Manure from any facility within this 10-kilometer radius around the affected area is also being held, and the movement of other animals is only allowed if hygiene protocols are followed first. In, well, the Netherlands? Since October 16th of this year, they have had to take strict national hygiene measures to control this avian flu. It's good that last year they said it was worse, like it was COVID for us, but even worse for all the birds.
It was really tough. I mean, and besides, it doesn't just affect birds, but it has also affected some mammals that normally only eat raw birds, like these seals and sea lions. So they're on the coast and they eat, like, I don't know, pelicans or whatever. And if they're sick, they were already getting sick, right? That was also part of the reason why they stopped Luis Arce.
That's how they stopped Luis Arce, the former president of Bolivia, right? And well, this president was here today. And the other one was taken to the police cells in the city of La Paz, apparently for an investigation into alleged corruption. Former Minister of the Presidency, Mariana de la Brada, confirmed this. She says, I want to denounce this to the Bolivian people and the international community, that just a moment ago, former President Luis Arce de Sopoca was kidnapped in the bar in the La Paz neighborhood.
Well, there it is. Look, speaking of former presidents, the Enrique Peña Nieto came back to Mexico to visit his mom, huh? Apparently, from what is known, he supposedly called the Mexican president just so it wouldn't be misunderstood that he's doing politics or something else. He asked, is it okay if I go over there?
Oh, he called Claudia? Okay.
Is he offering you something from Spain or here? I can bring wine or something.
Some bread?
What do you want? Well, the point is that they point out that the former president of Mexico is in Ixtapan de la Sal, state of Mexico, visiting his mother. That's the former Institutional Revolutionary Party president? Well, he was making this visit.
Here, they don't even worry about jail?
He has been in self-exile for 7 years, basically in Spain, right? Well, 7 years away. Apparently, I don't know if I should say in the meantime, I guess he must have come to Mexico at some point. I don't know, but yes, well, he's already over there, right? This is a topic that also draws attention. He came to visit his family, mainly his mother, because she can no longer travel easily. She was seen these days in that area in Ixtapan de la Sal, as confirmed, because, well, they're national media, right?
People saw her.
People who saw her.
He'd have the same neat hairstyle.
Yes, apparently, yes, the same hairstyle.
There was nothing, no.
I don't know.
He hasn't been with the blonde for a while now. With another guy, rich, handsome. Like, really handsome.
Handsome in the community. Well, it's just that many people here are fans. Not so much because he's handsome, but because he was really good.
For the memes?
All his mistakes turned into memes. They were very memeable. He's a very memeable character, and that's always the part I miss. Some people are memeable, while others aren't.
Clavio isn't memeable. He's just hysteria and never makes mistakes.
She's very tough, let's say very direct and very tough. And it's kind of hard to make memes out of that. But for example, with this Obrador, well, he was very memeable. I mean, for example, the day he started chasing some pigeons. Do you remember when he started following some pigeons? Do you remember?
I don't find him particularly memeable either.
No. Like, no, he didn't talk. It was super memeable. I mean, don't you remember?
No.
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 I remember a guy whose name was, what was it? Revolution? Yes, Revolution something. No, Imperio, Third Empire. Was he a huge fan of Peña? Ah.
Yeah, he was a real fan. Not just because of the memes. Yeah. There were people who had to be fans. I mean, here it is. It's this shot where he starts walking behind the pigeon, of course, and then people come up with things, right? For example, there they slowed it down and they already speak slowly. So they reduced the speed of the video. And then he sounds like he's drunk, so it seems like he's drunk, but it's a pigeon, so it's really funny.
Didn't you see it?
That one? You have to see it. Too bad I can't find it now, except for that photo. It was really funny. So yeah, there are all kinds of politicians. Some are really meme-worthy, others not so much, but oh well.
Well, I think Peña wins, yeah.
For example, Trump is more meme-worthy than Biden or Obama. I mean...
Yeah, Ivan is just more... I mean, it's because of him.
But no, this one's really memeable, huh?
Yeah.
This one too. Look at this one. I mean, there are a lot that are really memeable and others that aren't as much.
A bit. I remember a lot. Don't you remember when Andrés Manuel López Obrador was with his wife Beatriz in the control tower of the new airport? No? He says he'll arrive in 10 minutes, then changes it to less than 15 and gets upset. You can tell Andrés Manuel López Obrador is angry when he jokes about Peña's baby. Yeah, I didn't say, oh, what a lack of humor.
There it is. Look, it's following the dove.
He says, I do remember when López acted like a dove, like an autistic person. Sorry, no offense.
Not me, more like a drunk. I see it that way, even as a kid.
No, just what kids do. Greetings to Alga Cecilia.
Kids run.
Ah, well, yes.
It's just that he ends up walking slowly, and the pigeon keeps walking at its normal speed. And this one? But he's just a chivabazo. Too bad that no. Too bad that no. It doesn't get lost, it gets lost. Yes, well.
Pantarita says some are left for us. Greetings, Alex Flores. How are you, Alex Adelson? We're in the comments. No.
No, that's how the comments are. Lily says autistic people are cooler. Cheers, Lily. And my apartment is a mess. The tenant is super. Ah.
How cool that ISL gets it. We'll send Yono as observers. Greetings to Alex Flores, who says your mind is powerful. At least they don't know you. It's not for us. Greetings.
Greetings to Alex Flores. How are you?
Greetings to Miguel Alejandro. To Verderi Verderi, says Claudia. It's super memeable, especially when she lies. Well, the truth is she's not funny.
You do need to have a certain charm to be memeable.
I remember, for example, when Peña was about to hand over the presidential sash and tripped. Just small moments like that.
I mean, it's like he tends to make a lot of little mistakes. Or like when he grabbed his phone to take a picture and almost dropped it. I mean, same thing, you know?
Or the lame heart, the Ford heart.
Ah, yeah, and he does the heart.
Or like she didn't get the joke. Lily says, I miss baby Peña, and Lily actually likes him. I told her, you have terrible taste, Lily.
Greetings to you too. How have you been? Very good. Thank you so much for joining us, says Alex. How have you been? Good evening, Alex. Greetings to Alex Flores, Sergio, and Texas. How are you? Thank you. Greetings to Roberto. He also mentions United States, says Roberto. Maybe the tenant, since he had a drink, maybe he had a drink. You went on rum day and the next day everything was clean and tidy.
When did he say stripped race?
Infrastructure. That's really good infrastructure.
And he, Samuel, is the same. Listen, speaking English, and he's also a riot. That's why he always brings his wife, because his wife speaks very good English, really good English, and he doesn't. He has a very strong accent. Greetings to Jose Francisco, who says that climate change is being taken advantage of for harmful policies that hurt many of us, says Jose Francisco. Greetings.
Greetings, Jose Francisco. Alex says he already broke the bathroom lamp, the shower, the car, the cancer.
It can't be to use the bathroom, and it's super dull and overdue.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, what's up? Is he going to be our friend? He really should have been more careful. The place, he says, he doesn't even bother to clean the cat's litter, right? Wasn't it your cat, or was it the one that ended up being yours? Hi, Francisco Arce. How are you? Ready?
He says, go to Vietnam and Cambodia. Know how stubborn about Vietnam, right? Thailand,
Thailand, and Cambodia.
It's just every day.
It's in the morning, afternoon, in the morning.
Every day in Vietnam, not Thailand.
Chihuahua, just a memory now.
Greetings, Martin.
It's a memory from the past.
Let's read the comment. Go to Thailand and Cambodia. They don't like war. Those two countries have already experienced armed conflict and history. I think that's where the AK-40 was born. That's where the AK-40 was born. No, Vietnam, not Vietnam. Vietnam is peaceful.
Yes, Vietnam, they are very peaceful. Vietnam is really beautiful. Honestly, it's gorgeous. It has some really green plants. Greetings to Rublo, Mexico. In just over a week, I'll be heading to the cold. What are you doing in Mexico? He asks. Rublo, where are you going? Leaving? Bragging about going to Canada? It's a challenge.
To go to a fridge, an industrial fridge.
Oh no.
No, where are you going, Rublo? Where are you going? Yes.
Greetings to Miguel Alejandro. How are you? Miguel Alejandro?
He talks about the International Phonetic Alphabet virtual reality topic. I don't know if it's going to mutate, but when? Yes, exactly. I mean, at some point, well, it could mutate, and that's the problem with it exactly, he says. I don't like it. I used to hate it, but now I realize we were happy and didn't know. Yes.
Greetings, more or less. Yes, there are things that you say, well, when I was a little girl, I say no. There's what you could say was the best, the Institutional Revolutionary Party, honestly, but at least I don't remember violence.
At that level?
At that level, no. Yeah, well, it's not that I want the Institutional Revolutionary Party back, but of course, says Martin. That's why China advances.
Knock on wood, yeah.
She says China is advancing due to education and strict control over drugs and vices. Society is you're educating. I don't know if it's better, but in the States, the addiction rate is 16.8% among children aged 12 and 24.9% among adults.
Tapatia says they're older and don't follow me. During the Nobel Prize's broadcast, the Nobel Administration Director publicly approved him. We discussed it in the morning. I didn't have the video, but I brought it up since it wasn't available yet, though his message was already public. And not just to Maduro, but also to Iran, China, Russia, and Hezbollah.
To all of them?
He asked, So do you support the dictatorship or the regime? Now, I'm not sure of his exact words, but we discussed it during the broadcast. We did 2 morning broadcasts and saw the message.
Yes, the second one, didn't you say? Yes.
I think in the second one, we did manage to see the comment, but we don't have the video yet.
They don't care. Ultimately, they're dictators in their countries. Well, yes. Greetings to Miel Divina. She says, say hi to me. Say hi to me too. Juan Vasquez. Greetings, Juan Vasquez.
How are you? Thanks for being here.
Hello, Maximiliano Castilla. How are you?
Yes, I remember when the cake fell, Lily.
The whole cake. She dropped the cake. I don't remember that.
The cake fell. Did she drop the whole cake or just a slice? How was it? I don't remember. But I do remember.
Oh, at an event. Yes. Oh, yes. I remember. She said she closed the shot. Don't anger the lawyer.
Greetings.
Greetings, Chavaruco. And they just want to scare people with those laws they make, says Chavaruco. Yes, about the notice. Well, about the 5-year checkup. And Leonardo Pepe says, I really like the name Expedientes. Pepe, who suggested the name? Thank you for your work, Pepe. Greetings.
Well, Astrid suggested it, a mix. It was a mix, yes. I mean, because I suggested Expediente Pepe, but Astrid told me, why don't we take out the E? And I said, that's great. So it was a combination. Yes, because we had several options, but they just didn't have personality. We felt like they didn't have the kind of personality we like in our content. Especially for that type of project. Because, well, the idea is to explore, to go further, to go towards what is hardly ever told, right? For example, the case of Robert Maxwell is a case that is hardly ever talked about. Or suddenly, for example, the next topic is the hidden, perhaps darker side of transhumanism. What isn't discussed about how it's becoming a kind of species. Like a big cult, right? That part is also interesting. It's a cult of new technological elites, which really heads in this direction. By the way, Einstein was into transhumanism. I mean, he was very focused on it. He wanted to extend his life. He even told some people close to him, when he died, they should keep his head to see if they could.
Well, preserve it.
Yes, they discuss all that consciousness stuff, but digitized and related topics is a fascinating subject. We wanted a project like this because it allows us to go back to the past suddenly. A lot of the information we're talking about right now, well, it makes more sense when you talk about the past, not when you talk about which characters. For example, regarding Einstein, which character connected with him? Was it likely Robert Madwell? There are many strange things, but I don't want to spoil anything. The video is really interesting and I hope you enjoy it. About Robert Madwell. But the connection between these characters was probably more than people think. What was it? No, because there's actually little information from that side, but there are some very interesting facts about that connection that happened there. Strange, she says. A hug. How are you, Edilcia? Greetings, very good Roblox. Thank you very much, by the way, for those memberships, says Maximiliano. How are you? Yes, very worried. What does he say? How's it going, huh? What do you think of Maduro? Yes, he's very memeable.
Oh, yes, super memeable.
Alfonso, since you know he always likes you late.
Such ridiculous things, yes.
Ridiculous things. He really likes it. You know, the big wig. Do you remember? The big wig, and the dance, and here. I mean, so, yeah. Right? I think someone noticed that I had a certain knack for it, someone from his team, right? And he clearly uses it all the time.
You constantly have charisma, because at the end of the day, yeah, it's there, right? It's still there, huh? But well,
it's by force, but yes.
Yes, by force.
Charisma with bullets, but yes.
That's why he subtracts it. Where is he?
But let's say he has the quality of being memeable. Not that he's a meme himself. Well, you meme, I'm really bad at that. But he could be memeable. He's probably one of the most memeable presidents in Latin America, right? And well, in the end, the strangest thing is that it's a dictatorship. Yes, with really harsh atrocities, but at the same time, a character who acts like a clown. Yes, because normally the dictators like Ortega, like Castro, they're tough and they're guys a bit like Kim Jong-un, like Putin. It's just random. This character acts like a clown. He has a style.
Yes, he's a unique dictator.
Atypical, yes, atypical, exactly.
Greetings to Franco Corbalan, who says, without privacy, there is no freedom, and freedom is constantly extorted by our cell phones. Greetings, Franco.
Hey, Franco, how have you been? All good? This one? Well, we'd have to get into philosophical terms there, right? Like, what is freedom to begin with, right? How do we understand freedom to begin with? Because from there we can start talking about mental concepts. To begin with, no. I mean, freedom is exercised. To begin with, no, and it is lived. And also, well, if suddenly one is giving into things like what he says, right? That we are suddenly giving up many of our things and movements. Well, we're also accepting to be influenced in a certain way, right? I mean, when suddenly it's being absorbed, though maybe not directly. I mean, it's not like they activate you and say, hey, now you have to do this, but rather in a global sense, right? Yes, he says, on a massive scale. I mentioned a friend's grandson who was beaten up, and he even says it happens in heaven. That made me nervous, and I was like, what happened? I told him about the grandson, but I'm not sure what's happening there. The woman says she always has the last word, says Mauro. 2024 greetings, how have you been, Clan? Greetings, Marcela.
Very good. Greetings to Dulce Robledo, who says, greetings, nice to see you. Thank you for the news. Recently, people are learning to vote, which is good. However, since Monday, there has been terrible news from the American Supreme Court. And now this. Oh, yes, exactly.
Exactly?
Yes.
Andre says hello from Santiago, Chile, and asks how you are. Tapatia Pepe replies, very good. In Calgary, it's minus 27 with a wind chill of minus 29. No, just imagine, Vancouver minus 5, that's nothing, but minus 29. Yeah, that's intense, right? I mean, just imagine, it's like, well, Vancouver is kind of sheltered by the mountains. Or at least that's what I imagine. And so the cold doesn't hit it as hard, right?
Sebastian Monge asks, do you think Maduro is memorable intentionally or unconsciously? Maduro tries to make people empathize with him so that they feel sorry for him, so they say he's a good guy. Do you think Maduro is really trying to defend himself, or he can't? I think it is a strategy. Oh, this joke, the mix they made for him with P, I don't know what else.
Peña too, by the way.
Yes, Peña too, because Peña has a reputation for being really smart. He just pretends to be clueless.
Just like this Bush, just like Fox, there are people who act like jokers. And I always remember this conference I mentioned to you from around there. It must be on YouTube, a conference that George Bush Jr. gave when he graduated from Harvard, and he gave a conference. And you can't even hear a Texan accent. He speaks perfect English, speaking really well, like a Harvard student. Then you see him as a politician, talking like a Texan cowboy, saying nonsense like Fox. Their strategies, that's the joke. It makes people feel like he's one of them, like he's part of the crowd. That's how they feel. Suddenly he feels close, just like that. But not everyone can do it. It's not like they're just magically going to... there are people who are good at that, and there are people who just aren't. No, they just can't do it.
Yeah, because it has to feel natural, and it's not that easy to be naturally funny.
Yeah, no.
If it doesn't feel right, it's bad, he says. Greetings from Virgilio Lopez in San Bernardino, California. I saw your message that gave the prize here to Machado's daughter. I also saw the assault by the 3 helicopters on the oil tanker. Does it seem like a movie? Yes, Virgilio, it was intense.
I think the clearest phrase that Jose Zarate says is, they play dumb, but that's the Napoleonic strategy. That's what my grandfather would say. He'd say that's exactly it. But really, well,
yes, he says. FB Cinema, hello. I'm editing a video of the senior year students. Is it looking good so far? Greetings, FB Cinema.
Awesome, FB. What do you use? What software do you like to use for editing? He says. Greetings, Robole. Greetings, Tapatia. They say Vancouver is on the coast with a beach at sea level. Well, yes.
Angie says hello from Argentina and follows you daily for updates. I hope in my country we can manage to defend our glaciers. They want to remove the law that protects them. We're fighting for our water. Greetings, Angie. I hope so too.
Says Winkoff. Yeah, said Gustavo Cerati, you live and feel animal song, that you live and feel animal song, he says. Greetings, Winkoff. How have you been? Does it say here? Roble to Natita Roble. I'm greeting Roble now.
Right? Greetings, Robo.
Hello, Roble. How are you? I'm good.
Says Emma, today I was finally able to contribute to Luxo. Thank you very much, Emma.
Thank you very much, Emma. Big greetings to the whole community that supports us. Thank you very much.
Greetings to Maria Elena Onofre, who says hello. She says, how are you? Greetings to the whole family from my children, Daniela and Arturo Quiroz Onofre. Hope you are all well. Good evening, Maria Elena.
She says, leaving Nutcracker in San Francisco. Her daughter has 3 shows and now it's time for dinner.
Oh,
There are 3 shows and you just saw the first. It's going to be a long run.
are you going to learn it yourself?
Awesome. That's great. That's great. That's great. That's great. Isn't it awesome to see your kids there in a performance? Good luck, Jose. Say hi to your family for us, he says. I can't see what they're writing right now. My pupil is, you know. Greetings from Tapatia. Get well soon.
Look, use Da Vinci's black magic. He says resolve. It's not the best, but I get along with it.
You get along with it. Great, great. That's good. That's good. It also has that. I haven't used it myself, but well, it's free and it's good. This color corrector, yes.
Yes, it's used more. It started as a color corrector. This one says greetings to our parents, greetings to Bearable. We greet them, and to my Divina too. How are you?
Sebastian says that's not true. Men, not women, have the last word. Yes, my love, whatever you say.
Yes.
No, it's this one, he says. Venezuela consumes the least per the United Nations, while China, Afghanistan, India, and Pakistan are the largest producers, he says.
Says Ma, talking about drugs. Greetings to Wesley Mendoza, who says he was at the commotion today in Chiapas around 8:30 a.m.
Today, I don't know. I don't know if I heard that, but no, I don't know. So far, no, I haven't followed up on this. Greetings, Alex G. Is anyone from Chiapas here to share? He asks. All presidents pretend to be clueless, says Jose. Not all of them, but yes, I mean, those who can do it, do it. Those who can do it, do it.
They have the ability to say, says Mauro. Under that cheesy appearance hides a macabre reality. What are you talking about, Mauro?
Greetings, Mauro. Very good. Let's go.
Guys, remember that we are on WhatsApp and we are also on Telegram, where we send you notifications about live broadcasts so you can stay informed about the latest things happening in the world.
Hope you're well. See you tomorrow. We'll talk.
Greetings. See you.
Thank you for watching the PP News Live. Greetings. And the secrets of outer space are analyzed like nowhere else. Thank you for subscribing.